also help to expand their audiences, which will ultimately result in growth for those organizations. In addition to being a certified constant contact specialist, my colleagues and I are also certified in John Maxwell Leadership Principles. We use these proven principles to conduct workshops, training, and private coaching sessions for individuals and companies looking to take things to the next level. Contact us to schedule a free consultation. Issues today, don't delay, call Cuvée.
Have you had your Earth Blend coffee today? At Earth Blend Coffee, we take pride in offering you the very best of beans across the world, blended and roasted to perfection, giving you superior quality and satisfying and flavorful taste. Experience the world in one cup with Earth Blend Coffee.
This is Brian Fulford. AD Drew and I are co-hosts of the BCSN Sports Wrap. We talk about all things related to HBCU athletics. From the games, teams, coaches, and fan interest stories, we cover it all. You can find our shows on Facebook at BCSN Sports Wrap, YouTube at MyJBN Online, and everywhere you listen to podcasts like Anchor, Spotify, Google, and Apple Podcasts. You can also find the show on the Jericho Broadcast Network's app. Make sure to download. We look forward to you joining the conversation and being a part of the show. Follow the Black College Sports Network on social media at MyBCSN1, the number 1, on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at MyBCSN1.
It's never too early to plant the seed, to share the tradition, and instill a sense of pride in your HBCU with your little ones. HBCU Pride and Joy Children's Boutique helps you share your school spirit with a wide selection of adorable kids apparel and accessories officially licensed from your favorite HBCU. Visit hbcupridejoy.com and follow us on all social media at HBCU Pride Joy on Facebook and Twitter.
We are back. For the first time in 62 years, the Florida Memorial Lions will hit the gridiron, and their home games will be streamed by the Black College Sports Network at www.fmuathletics.com, www.mybcsn.net, and on the MyBCSN app, available on Google Play and the Apple App Store.
This is the Dean of the College of HBCU Sports, Kenyatta Cavill of Dr. Cavill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Come mix it up in the lab where the course lecture is in session every Tuesday from 6 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time on Facebook Live, YouTube Spreaker, or the BCSN app, as we discuss all things about the HBCU sports culture, including exploring the week that was in the sporting HBCU diaspora, as well as the upcoming week of HBCU sports. With me, the Dean, the College of...
A pleasant good morning to everyone, and welcome once again to another edition of the Coles Brown Show, watched and heard exclusively right here on the Black College Sports Network. Yours truly here, Coles Brown. Coming up, today's guest menu, we have 3 guests lined up for you. In hour number 1, I see Morrell of the Pine Bluff Commercial Appeal. He'll join me to give us a conversation about the University of Arkansas Pine Bluff. Like Southern University, coming into this ball game on a losing streak. Then in hour number 2, I have 2 guests lined up for you. One being Brandon B.J. Jones of Inside HBCU Football. He joins me, of course, talking HBCU football, Southwestern Athletic Conference. And then last but not least, Charles Edmond of the Alcorn State Radio Network. Simply call that segment SWAC Sports Report. Let's get right into it. Southern University last week against Texas Southern University. First and foremost, let me congratulate Texas Southern University on the win. They defeated Southern University 35-31 in Arlington, Texas, in Choctaw Stadium. Mr. Body, he was all that and then some. He threw for over 300 yards, almost rushed for 100 yards. And then Texas Southern offensively did a good job of running a no-huddle offense, or shall we say, up-tempo offense. They were able to win their first conference game. And look, Texas Southern hasn't had a lot of success, but they were able to defeat Southern University 35-31. Now, congratulate Texas Southern. Now let me tell you about Southern University. And you kind of saw this coming. You saw defensively. Let's start there, okay? This defense right now can't stop a wet paper bag. And you know what a wet paper bag is? It is very loose. And guess what? It's going to boil down to the CEO, one being Coach Rollins, and the defensive coordinator, Lana Washington. Plenty of experience, played in the NFL, coached in the NFL, coached at the FBS. Guess what? You got to get this fixed, and you got to get it fixed like yesterday, ASAP, because you're moving into the toughest part of your schedule coming up. Starting today, I simply call it do or die. Another loss, forget about it. They won't represent the Western Division. They have no room for error. And every week they've got to win it, starting this week. By the way, happy homecoming, University of Arkansas, Pine Bluff. Let me just give you some numbers. And based on the numbers I'm going to give you, you would think, or it should have been, a victory for Southern University. As you can tell, I'm a little frustrated, but not like the Jaguar Nation. The best thing about the Jaguar Nation is their fans, and the worst part is if you get on the wrong side. But I'm sure all fans are just simply like that. They're passionate. If a team rushes for 322 yards, that's right, 322 yards. They throw for 207, okay? Total offensive yards, 529 yards, okay? Rush for 322, threw for 207, 529 total yards, and you run 83 plays. But guess what? You would think that team would win, but not so fast. When you give up 238 yards rushing and you give up 338 yards passing, that's criminal. That's criminal. And you gave up 576 yards on 71 plays. And that team is Texas Southern, 8.1 yards a play. That's almost a first down every doggone play. Time of possession, 35 minutes and 2 seconds, Southern University. Arkansas Pine Bluff, get ahead of myself. Texas Southern, 24 minutes and 58 seconds. Andrew Body, 28 of 35, only 7 incompletions, 338 yards. He rushed for 85. What's going on? We saw this defense, and I said it weeks ago, overall, the team hasn't played 4 complete quarters. And then defensively, You saw a team that was inconsistent. You have Jordan Lewis. I understand. Look, I understand bumps and injury. That's part of the game. That happens to everybody. And we talked a little bit about gap integrity. Tackling in space, poor tackling, missed tackling, missed tackles. And so you drop a game that, quite honestly, no one thought it would happen. 35-31 to Texas Southern University. And as I stated earlier, congratulations to Texas Southern University. But now it's just quite simply for Southern University, it's all about you. And I've heard from some fans, social media, they're not happy. Now, I've had some to say, look, they may win 3 games. Well, wait a minute. That means they're going to win only 1 more game? No. Southern is a standard. That's their slogan. But you have high expectations. And this team, from the spring season to the fall, something has happened. Some of you have talked about coaching. Need to open up the coaching search. Hey, that's going to be on Roman Banks, Director of Athletics. But I will say this. Let's see how the rest of the season plays off. And at the end of the season, then I'm assuming, it's just me saying this, that you'll look at the season. How did it end? What was the record? Do your evaluations, and then you decide which direction that you're going to go. And by the way, some of you are not happy with Roman Banks. I definitely understand that. And I'm not going to try to take up for anybody. It is what it is right now. Right now, this team has underachieved so far. Defense, substandard. Southern is a standard. Defense is substandard. Got to fix it ASAP. And if you don't fix it, this season could very well go downward, spiral downward quickly. Is the house on fire? That's the only thing I can think of. Then you had a coach, Coach Gilmore, addressing fans on social media. That's something, in my humble opinion, you never do. You never do. And so he resigned. Focus on what has to happen on the field. And you know, when things are going well, you're going to hear from fans, but you're also going to hear from fans and alum when things go bad. That was a horrific loss last Saturday. It really was. Where do you go from here? University of Arkansas Pine Bluff, a team that defeated you at A.W. Mumford Stadium in the spring season. You would believe, you would think that there shouldn't be a whole lot of motivation needed. This is a chance to, 1, defeat Arkansas Pine Bluff, who, by the way, has underachieved as well. And then you look and get forward, get ready for homecoming against a very explosive Prairie View A&M football team. And Coach Dooley cut his teeth at Southern University. He smells blood. Prairie View smells blood, and they're going to come in. University of Arkansas Pine Bluff smells blood. And you can bet you're going to see some RPOs. You're going to see them try to establish the run. And on the back end, I've heard defensive line. I understand some injuries, some players were banged up. You're getting those people healthy, but still, there's no excuse for what happened last Saturday. So we'll see. This time next week, we'll come back and we'll look at the University of Arkansas Pine Bluff versus Southern game. And we'll just give our analysis and see what happens. I'm going to take a timeout now. I guess I've got a little bit off my chest and shoulders. I want to hear from you as well. I promise to get your comments in, and I understand the feeling. I really do. But now, this football team, this football program, they can't be thinking about last week. They've got to be focused now on the University of Arkansas Pine Bluff. And going forward, it doesn't get any easier. And you think Jackson State, Prairie View, Alcorn State, FAMU, they're going to be like a shark. They smell blood. They're coming. And then you're at home. After this game today, no more road games unless you're going to Atlanta. But right now, a lot of you don't have a lot of confidence. And I must admit, my confidence has been shaken tremendously. But let's see. Let's see going forward what happens. I'm going to take a timeout. You're watching the Coles Brown Show on the Black College Sports Network. I'll be right back.
This is the Dean of the College of HBCU Sports, Kenyatta Cavill of Dr. Cavill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Come mix it up in the lab where the course lecture is in session every Tuesday from 6 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time on Facebook Live, YouTube Spreaker, or the BCSN app, as we discuss all things about the HBCU sports culture, including exploring the week that was in the sporting HBCU diaspora, as well as the upcoming week of HBCU sports. With me, the Dean, the College of HBCU Sports, on Dr. Cavill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Course lecture dismissed.
Your ad could be ran here. MyJBN.com/support. MyJBN.com/support for more information.
Majesty is a premium health and wellness tea line focused on bringing delicious yet healthy tea blends to the community. Filled with an abundance of vitamins and antioxidants, we work to blend teas with exotic spices and fruits to produce scrumptious and wholesome beverages. So check us out at mymajesties.com. That's MyMajesties.com. My Majesties, an Urban Passport member.
Are you hungry for authentic Caribbean food? Like jerk chicken, oxtail, red snapper, shrimp, tofu, and rasta pasta? Well, find your way over to Mango's Caribbean Restaurant, 180 Auburn Avenue, right next to Royal Peacock in downtown Atlanta.
Them belly full, but we hungry.
Mango's Caribbean Restaurant, open daily from 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. And on Friday and Saturday, we're open till 4 a.m. Come to Mango's and put some spice in your life.
So we've got a good thing going.
Mango's Caribbean Restaurant, 180 Auburn Avenue, right next to Royal Peacock in downtown Atlanta. For more info or directions, call 404-698-3992 or log on to mangoscaribbeanrestaurant.com. For instant coupons, text MANGOS to 313131.
Tell your mama hungry, papa hungry, brother hungry.
Mango's Caribbean Restaurant, authentic Caribbean cuisines.
Open up the door. Tell your mama.
I think that's a lot better.
Yeah, that's good. I like it.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, man.
Welcome back to this week's edition of the Carlos Brown Show. I was talking to my next guest, I.C. Morrell, who's on the move, but now he's stationary for me. I.C., good morning to you, sir.
Good morning, man. What's going on?
Well, it's going well. A lot of frustration, I guess, with the Jaguar Nation, and I guess University of Arkansas Pine Bluff as well. But before we get into that, today you received an award. Can you tell us about it?
Yes, sir. Very blessed and highly favored to receive an award today from the University of Arkansas at Monticello African American Alumni Elite. It's basically the African American Alumni Hall of Fame. I'm a member of the class of 2003. And this is where my sports writing chops, my journalism chops began right here on this campus in Monticello, Arkansas. There's a high school just about a 10-minute walk from here. I used to walk over there and cover the girls and the boys basketball teams. I didn't have a vehicle, but that's something that gave me a start into community journalism.
Well, from the Coles Brown Show and myself, congratulations on the award. And I'm sure there's still more of your career left and accomplishments to get. So I appreciate you coming on and congratulations once again.
Thank you very much. It's the good Lord's thing that'll all come to fruition, man.
That indeed. Well, let's have a conversation. Southern University, University of Arkansas Pine Bluff, homecoming. Both teams kind of coming in wounded. For University of Arkansas Pine Bluff, when we talked earlier, I thought maybe, and you could tell me, that Alcorn State game, when they're up and they're leading, I doze off to sleep and I wake up, Alcorn State takes the victory. Is it safe to say that maybe that was one of the main factors of this football team kind of, going to where they are now as far as not being able to pull that win off?
The coaches even said as much. It seems like that one loss has spurred on other losses. The guys kind of relaxed in that game, but also I think the common denominator in those losses is Skylar Perry hasn't been as accurate as he usually is. And the backup coach wouldn't confirm it, but the backup quarterback has said that he suffered an injury to his hand. He just hasn't been accurate the last few games. It's very unusual for him to not complete at least 50 or 60% of his passes. His accuracy has suffered a little bit. So that has been a big, you can't put it all on the quarterback, but just the inability to finish drives on a short field, that's just unlike UAPB. They've had so many seniors come back on this team. And other than what I've been able to write, it's just all been a bit of a mystery.
Could you say, I see that the biggest disappointment, and I know you win and lose as a team, but is it more offensively or defensively or both?
Oh, it's both, most definitely. Offensively, not being able to complete short drives in a short field, like I say, accuracy issues. Xavier Vaughn, who I'm pretty sure you'll see him at some point in the game today, he's been able to come off the bench and give the Lions, a much-needed injection into the offense and seem to get the guys emotionally back into the game. But and coaches said after the last game against Alabama State that he would reevaluate the position at quarterback. So we'll see who he comes up with today. Wouldn't be surprised if Xavier Vaughn does get the call today for UAPB. Defensively, they've given up big plays, and Coach made this quote, UAPB has made a habit of allowing guys to have career-high games, just like the freshman starter Alabama State used last week, Miles Crawley. Crawley threw for 4 touchdown passes, and 2 of those went for 40 or more yards. And UAPB's defense is really ranked low all year, and they hadn't had but like 2 or 3 new pieces to the defense. Same defensive coordinator as in the spring, so I'm really not sure. It's just all a mystery. Other than what we see, other than what we hear, it's just all a mystery as to why everything is just is breaking down at this point.
Yeah, because and I think back, I see, making it to the championship game in the spring season, and then being picked not at the top in the Western Division, they felt disrespected. And again, I go back to, I know there's multiple factors, but boy, you think we're discussing something different if they hold on and defeat Alcorn State?
I think we're discussing something different if they defeat Alabama A&M, because that way they know how to finish a game. They know they can't let up against Alcorn State. They let up a little bit against Alcorn State. And if there were any breakdowns, you would think they would have been fixed after the UCA game. They just got out too fast. They were at home. And UAPB has a history of getting out real fast and then just relaxing. And the guys don't really entirely understand whether you're a winning team or a losing team, how to put together a full 60 minutes of football. And that's something that this team has still got to do. I don't know that they put together a full 60 minutes in their first game, which was a win over Lane College. Lane's a pretty good team in Division II right
now. And that's interesting. A complete game. Mm-hmm. If we look at the other side, Southern University in spurts defensively. So let's kind of take a closer look from the UAPB perspective. What has Coach Gamble talked about homecoming and facing a Southern University football team.
You know, everybody's going to talk about homecoming, and except Coach Gamble, he hasn't talked a whole lot about that. I think because of the losing streak, his focus has been on, you know, what do we do to do the little things right, and what do we do to get our veterans to play better so that they don't feel like they have to make up for some of the mistakes. He started to say a lot of the mistakes were from the newer players, but then he said some of the veterans were making mistakes as well. I'm pretty sure it's all across the board, and then he later on went on to say that. So it's just a case where some kind of way you have to tighten up your pass defense. They had the leading rush defense in the conference up until the Prairie View game. And what breakdowns happened in that is just a little bit unexplainable to me. And then offense, like I say, they haven't really been able to establish. They have a good running back balance, but they hadn't been able to really grind it out as to the liking of Coach Gamble, you know, to kind of take a little bit of pressure and to kind of set up more of the short passes for either Skylar Perry or Xavier Vaughn. So I think those things there, if they can prevent the big play and if they can get more production in their running game, because they have a deeper crop of running backs. They didn't have that deep crop because the guy that got a majority of the carries, he transferred to another school, I think back home in Illinois. If they're able to get more of a ground game, that could take a little bit of pressure off the quarterback, and that could lead to more drives being finished.
This is I.C. Morrell, the Pine Bluff commercial, here on the Coles Brown Show. And you know, there's the X's and O's in the game. Then there's the intangibles. Ladarius Skelton, Pine Bluff native. He's coming home, but he's not the starter, of course. But I wonder, I see if Coach Doc Gamble is prepping his team to maybe see him at some point or involved in the offense along with the starter, Glenn McDaniels.
Coach did talk a little bit about, he didn't name the quarterbacks, but he did talk a little bit about what Ladarius Skelton can do. I think he said that Skelton is better with his legs, and I think the last time they played in March, Skelton was better with the legs. You probably know this, but Skelton had a bone bruise in his knee from what Coach Rollins told me, and that's why he hadn't been playing, I think, since September 18th. McDaniel looks pretty good. If I had to guess, I'm pretty sure McDaniel would come back out and be the starter. But yeah, you know, that was a major talking point in my previews. You know, how much will we see of Ladarius Skelton? And right now, I don't think it's a whole lot from what Coach Rollins said. It seems like that Skelton is a little bit doubtful. On Gamble's part, not entirely knowing that, I think he prepared more for McDaniel than he did for Skelton.
I see if University of Arkansas Pine Bluff, if they're victorious today, what key things did they do to get the victory?
If they beat Southern University, they stopped the big play. They defended the pass as great as they had all year long. They minimized the rushing attack of Southern University, and they established a running game because they have a deeper running back group to do that, and they committed no turnovers.
And something we didn't talk about, special teams. Somehow, some way, special teams is always important. Either a block punt, punt return, or something. Who do you think has the edge, or did Coach Gamble, talk about special teams play in his assessment of this week's game?
He didn't talk a whole lot about special teams. You know, the big play threat on special teams for UAPB was Tyron Ralph, but he's been out at least the last couple of games because he had an emergency surgery, oral surgery or something of that nature, and he just hadn't played the last couple of games. And at last check, they were just waiting on clearance for him to come back. Now, Tyron either gets you a touchdown or he sets up a short field for you, and that's the specialty. Tyron was an All-American performer. So, you know, whether Tyron will be available to play today, I'm not sure. But if he's able to play, that's going to give UAPB an emotional boost.
Well, I see in the background, it should be beautiful weather conditions. A cool front came through. As far as attendance, I know on the losing streak, but it's homecoming. One of the better crowds for a home game for University of Arkansas Pine Bluff?
I think it will be. You know, coming off the pandemic, people are needing something to do. They want something to do. Although the team is struggling a little bit, I know the attendance is going to be high, you know, in the tailgate area. But as far as in the stadium, I'm willing to say at least 9,000.
You know, that's interesting because sometimes you hear this from different sources, my colleagues. A lot of times the fans are outside the stadium in the tailgating area, but they're starting to want to see a little bit more coming into the stadium. So hopefully it's a 10,000 attendance as far as for the game today.
It would be great for the morale of the whole town of Pine Bluff, a town that really needs it.
Yeah, well, someone's going to be excited and happy after around about 5 o'clock. Some fans, some teams are not going to be happy. So, hey, I appreciate you coming on, IC, on a short notice. We'll talk again real soon. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. And once again, congratulations on the award.
Thanks very much, Carlos, man. Thanks for all you do.
All right. Thank you, sir. That was IC Morrell of the Pine Bluff Commercial and in Pine Bluff, Arkansas. Huge game as far as Southern University and Arkansas Pine Bluff. Both teams would like to get in the win column to reverse what's been happening the last few weeks. I'm going to take a timeout. When I come back, it'll be more of the Coles Brown Show on the Black College Sports Network.
Follow the Black College Sports Network on social media at MyBCSN1, the number 1, on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at MyBCSN1. Support the Black College Sports Network so we can continue to provide you coverage. Go to myjbn.com/support and be a part of the Black College Sports Network.
The Cuvée Group is a Florida-based marketing and training consulting firm. We help businesses communicate to their target audience and engage them in conversation. We also help to expand their audiences, which will ultimately result in growth for those organizations. In addition to being a certified constant contact specialist, my colleagues and I are also certified in John Maxwell Leadership Principles. We use these proven principles to conduct workshops, training, and private coaching sessions for individuals and companies looking to take things to the next level. Contact us to schedule a free consultation. Issues today, don't delay, call Cuvée.
Have you had your Earthblend coffee today? At Earthblend Coffee, we take pride in offering you the very best of beans across the world, blended and roasted to perfection, giving you superior quality and satisfying and flavorful taste. Experience the world in one cup with Earthblend Coffee.
This is Ryan Fulford. AD Drew and I are co-hosts of the BCSN Sports Wrap. We talk about all things related to HBCU athletics. From the games, teams, coaches, and fan interest stories, we cover it all. You can find our shows on Facebook at BCSN Sports Wrap, YouTube at MyJBN Online, and everywhere you listen to podcasts like Anchor, Spotify, Google, and Apple Podcasts. You can also find the show on the Jericho Broadcast Network's app. Make sure to download. We look forward to you joining the conversation and being a part of the show. Follow the Black College Sports Network on social media at MyBCSN1, the number 1, on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at MyBCSN1.
It's never too early to plant the seed, to share the tradition, and instill a sense of pride in your HBCU with your little ones. HBCU Pride and Joy Children's Boutique helps you share your school spirit with a wide selection of adorable kids apparel and accessories officially licensed from your favorite HBCU. Visit hbcupridejoy.com and follow us on all social media at HBCU Pride Joy on Facebook and Twitter.
We are back. For the first time in 62 years, the Florida Memorial Lions will hit the gridiron, and their home games will be streamed by the Black College Sports Network at www.fmuathletics.com. www.mybcsn.net, and on the My BCSN app, available on Google Play and the Apple App Store.
This is the Dean of the College of HBCU Sports, Kenyatta Cavill of Dr. Cavill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Come mix it up in the lab where the course lecture is in session every Tuesday from 6 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time on Facebook Live, YouTube Spreaker, or the BCSN app, as we discuss all things about the HBCU sports culture, including exploring the week that was in the sporting HBCU diaspora, as well as the upcoming week of HBCU sports. With me, the Dean, the College of HBCU Sports, on Dr. Cavill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Course lecture dismissed.
Welcome back to this week's edition of the Coles Brown Show here on the Black College Sports Network. Just visited with I.C. Morrell of the Arkansas Pine Bluff Commercial Appeal. He joined me live from Pine Bluff, Arkansas. Southern University and University of Arkansas Pine Bluff. Now, leading the way from Pine Bluff will be quarterback Skylar Perry. He leads UAPB with 772 yards. Now, IC talked about a hand injury and not being very accurate, but somehow, some way, it seems like lately, when Southern University's defense, everyone has been having almost a career game. Last week, Mr. Body, we'll call him Mr. Body, offensive player of the week, or newcomer of the week as well, threw for over 300 yards against Southern University. Leading the way for Pine Bluff and receiver Josh Wilkes. He leads them in receiving yards with 281 yards. And then when you look at this Arkansas Pine Bluff team, of course, yeah, they've underachieved. And as I talked to IC in the interview, to me, that Alcorn State game where they were leading, they were dominant in pretty much for 3 quarters in the game. And then Alcorn State comes back and wins the football game. And one thing I can say about Alcorn State, maybe, they've had some issues. They've had some offensive line play issues. They have been able to win close ball games or come from behind. That's the difference. They have not lost a game that they shouldn't have lost. So they're doing well. Southern University, Arkansas Pine Bluff, they also have some games we're going to talk about in the conference as well. Some big games. And if you look at it right now, let me just do this, because for those who know me and have been listening or watching here on the Black College Sports Network, I have a special affection when Southern plays Jackson State. Jackson State, number 1 team in the conference. I have to give credit where credit is due, okay? Defensively, they get after people. They get pressure with that front 4. And they're able to play a lot of man coverage. And they fly out, get after you. To me, no doubt about it, they're the number 1 team in the conference. Now, ranked second, I would have FAMU, who now, after that first game in the Orange Blossom Classic, we were talking about, wow, if they're able to get some offense. So they've improved in that area, and defensively, pretty darn good. Pretty darn good when you're looking at FAMU. Then after that, I guess if I'm ranking my top 5, then you got Prairie View. We talked about always a program, a football team that can get it done offensively, and they'll continue to do that. It seems to be the difference is they've at least improved defensively. Now, they've got some big games coming up, and two games that comes to mind. Southern on the road next week in Baton Rouge for Southern University's homecoming. Then they've got Alcorn State. And mathematically, Southern is still in at 1-1 in the conference play, but no room for error. You want to be able to control the narrative, and you don't want to have to depend or rely on help from some other program to get you a loss that'll help you in the win column. So Southern University still can control their narrative, but they've got some tough ball games. And many of you have told me you just don't have the confidence. But we shall see. So I stopped at Prairie View. It's probably ranked number 3. Then Alcorn State, and I understand this is debatable. Alcorn State, number 4. And if I had to rank the top 5, they're going to have an opportunity. They play today against Valley. And by the way, I've got some, thanks to Brian Fulford, I got some point spreads there for you. But I think I'll wait and add it when we kind of get into the schedule for this week in the Southwestern Athletic Conference. So, Alcorn State, number 4. Defensively, they've improved. They're getting after people. And offensively, so does Felix Harper goes. So does Alcorn State offensively. Now, I guess I need some help on this one. Who would be ranked number 5? And I guess we're doing a top 5. And by the way, when BJ Jones comes on, he'll have his top 5 as well. But it's always debatable to put teams how they're ranked. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we talked about how exciting this season would be in the conference. And you've had some teams that, quite honestly, have underachieved. You have those teams that we thought would do pretty well. They're doing well. And then you have some teams that have improved. Valley on a 2-game winning streak, of course, right? Albeit to get to a 3-game winning streak, they're going to have to defeat Alcorn State, but they have them at home. So let me know, who would you think? Give me a little help here. Who would be the 5th rated team in the conference? Do we look at Alabama A&M? Do we look at Valley? Do we look at Alabama State? Alabama State, Alabama A&M, Southern University. Right now, they have so much work to do. It doesn't matter where they're ranked right now. But I'd probably go with Alabama State. But again, that's debatable. But it's kind of like my top 5 for the teams in the Southwestern Athletic Conference. So what I'm going to do, I'll take another timeout. And when I come back, it'll be more of the Coles Brown Show right here on the Black College Sports Network.
Your ad could be ran here. MyJBN.com/support. MyJBN.com/support for more information.
Majesty is a premium health and wellness tea line focused on bringing delicious yet healthy tea blends to the community. Filled with an abundance of vitamins and antioxidants, we work to blend teas with exotic spices and fruits to produce scrumptious and wholesome beverages. So check us out at mymajesties.com. That's MyMajesties.com. My Majesties, an Urban Passport member.
Are you hungry for authentic Caribbean food like jerk chicken, oxtail, red snapper, shrimp, tofu, and rasta pasta? Well, find your way over to Mango's Caribbean Restaurant, 180 Auburn Avenue, right next to Royal Peacock in downtown Atlanta.
Them belly full, but we hungry.
Mango's Caribbean Restaurant, open daily from 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. And on Friday and Saturday, we're open till 4 a.m. Come to Mango's and put some spice in your life.
So we've got a good thing going.
Mango's Caribbean Restaurant, 180 Auburn Avenue, right next to Royal Peacock in downtown Atlanta. For more info or directions, call 404-698-3992 or log on to mangoscaribbeanrestaurant.com. For instant coupons, text MANGOS to 313131.
Tell your mama hungry, papa hungry, brother hungry.
Mango's Caribbean Restaurant, authentic Caribbean cuisines.
Open up the door, tell your mama hungry.
Follow the Black College Sports Network on social media at MyBCSN1, the number 1, on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at MyBCSN1. Support the Black College Sports Network so we can continue to provide you coverage. Go to myjbn.com/support and be a part of the Black College Sports Network.
The Cuvée Group is a Florida-based marketing and training consulting firm. We help businesses communicate to their target audience and engage them in conversation. We also help to expand their audiences, which will ultimately result in growth for those organizations. In addition to being a certified constant contact specialist, my colleagues and I are also certified in John Maxwell Leadership Principles. We use these proven principles to conduct workshops, training, and private coaching sessions for individuals and companies looking to take things to the next level. Contact us to schedule a free consultation. Issues today, don't delay, call Cuvée.
Welcome back to this week's edition of the Coles Brown Show, right here on the Black College Sports Network. Kind of discussing in our number 1, Southern University football in the big loss to Texas Southern last week. And we must congratulate Texas Southern. And, you know, they're playing Grambling State today. If they're able to take care of business, then they'll be on a nice win streak. And they're still battling mathematically. They're still in the Western Division race. For Southern University, just quite honestly, offensively, they're doing enough. They're doing enough. As I gave you the stat earlier, if an offense has over 500 yards offense, don't you think 31 points is enough if you have a quality, tough defense? But here's what some of you are saying about Southern University defense, and I'm going to read this text message. Our defense is too passive. No aggression at all. We do not attack the line of scrimmage, and we do not attack the ball when it is in the air. We are scared to play man-to-man. If we play man-to-man and get beat one time, we sit back for the rest of the game. Some of you have asked me about Jordan Lewis, Buck Buchanan winner in the spring. And I understand he's, been banged up a little bit. But you have their base defense is a 4-2-5. So Jordan Lewis is kind of in the jack position. I always looked at him as a hybrid. Defensive end for a few years, now kind of having that role of a linebacker. And then on the back end, pass defense, they've struggled. Linebacker play, not been consistent at all. So the big question is, if this season goes in a spiral downward trajectory, is it quite simply going to be on the defense? We had a situation offensively that Southern University went with Glenn Bubba McDaniels as quarterback. And to me, he can definitely make all the throws. And no, he's not as athletic as Darius Skelton, but he's not a statue back there. Given time and the strength of this football team, I guess everyone would agree, it's been the offensive line. He gets time. He's able to get things going. And once again, I point back to if an offense gets that much yardage in the game and scored 31 points, and they left a few points on the field, then this team wins the football game. But defensively, and I've saw some defensive or lack of defense under the previous coach at times. But the bottom line is, can they fix it? And they can't, they've got to fix it quickly. They can't wait 2 or 3 games to get the problem fixed. They've got to get it done. And we look at this team and we talked about it before the season, after the spring, coming into the fall. This team was what? Built for a championship. They have the ingredients there for a championship. Right now, they still have that goal ahead of them, but they don't have any wiggle room at all. Because if you look at the schedule, you penciled last Saturday as a win. All of you, me included. But it didn't happen. When adversity hits, and all teams go through some adversity at some point, sometimes multiple times during the season, how do you adjust? Can you overcome the adversity? And now we look at Coach Rollins, and the bottom line, he's the CEO, albeit on an interim basis for this team, this program. He's the CEO. The buck is going to stop. It's going to fall on the CEO, and that's Coach Rollins. And trust me, I hear you out there. I see you on social media. You're basically ready to bury Coach Rollins right now. You want Coach Banks, and some of you are not happy with Coach Banks. You want the coaching search to be open up right now. Open up again. But I'm taking the approach of let's see how the season plays out. Look, and guess what? If it doesn't end well, and you will tell me, I told you so, it is what it is. And I'll call it on that. I'll call it. This was not a good season. But they can start today. And I know some of you are not that confident. I expect improvement. I expect Southern to go out and take care of business today against University of Arkansas Pine Bluff. By the way, on ESPN Plus. Now, whether it will it happen or not, we shall see. Around 5 o'clock, we will, a little bit after 5, we will know. Has this team made improvement in a week enough to defeat their opponent and then get ready for the toughest part of the schedule coming up? Now, first game, Troy State, is what it is, playing up. You go back and look, McNeese State, and I think that kind of sowed the seeds with the fan base. A McNeese State football team that you were up by 11 at halftime, okay? And you were not able to finish. This football team has not been able to finish. And it's one thing if you didn't have the talent. You're talented. So is it coaching? Is it players underachieving? Is it a combination of multiple factors? The rest of this season is going to be very, 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 very interesting. This football team was built to win a championship. Will they be able to do it? Will they be able to do it? That is the bottom line. Offensively, they've kind of straightened out some things. They've decided to go with Glenn Bubba McDaniels at quarterback. Skelton, still not 100%. Coming home against Arkansas Pine Bluff, if he's able, this is one game where you look for him to be involved in the game. But if he's not able to do so because of the injury, then is he the team player? Is he there for support for Glenn McDaniels? This team offensively. Will they start out fast? If you win the toss, do you put the defense on the field? The point of the team that has had the most problems, do you put them out there and let's see what happens? It's going to be very, very, very interesting. Coming up in hour number 2, we've got Brandon B.J. Jones of Inside HBCU Football. He'll join me. And also after BJ will be Charles Edmond of the Alcorn State Radio Network joining me here on the Carlos Brown Show. Some big matchups in the Southwestern Athletic Conference. For some, it's do or die because another loss, and they're basically out of it. Then you're playing for pride. What about last week? I kind of was leaning toward Jackson State, as much as it pains me. But Jackson State, wow, did they not put a royal you-know-what whipping on Alabama A&M? And the interesting thing about that was Coach Maynard, he is who he is. He's going to come out. He's talkative. And usually his team back it up, but no, they didn't back it up last week. A royal butt whipping is what they got. They got taken to the woodshed. And then they've got a huge game at home against FAMU, who I think is the second best team in the conference without a doubt. How do they bounce back? We talked about coaches on the hot seat. I refused at one point to believe Coach Rollins is on the hot seat. Well, can't say that anymore. We talked about Coach Dooley being on the hot seat. Has he done enough so far, or the jury is still out on Coach Dooley being on the hot seat? He may have did enough so far. And if they could come in and beat Southern University at A.W. Mumford Stadium next week, they're leading the Western Division. Coach Ely Hill at Alabama State, mathematically still in it. In the Eastern Division. Coach Danson at Mississippi Valley State, 2-game winning streak. In the conference, played respectable against Southern University earlier. Big game against Alcorn State at home. And then you look at Bethune-Cookman University. Coach Sims, 0 wins. Started off the season against Texas El Paso, and you were very proud of them, the effort. But they haven't gotten the win. Will there be some coaching move in the conference after the season starts? I think it will be. All of this in the 2021 football season. Going to take a timeout a little bit early in today's show. We'll get out of here a little bit early to allow for something on the network to be able to happen. But after this timeout, I'm going to be joined by Brandon B.J. Jones of Inside HBCU Football, and then Charles Edmond. We're going to kind of get into last week's schedule in the conference, this week's, and then we'll get BJ's perspective on all of this, Southern and the loss, and just kind of get his take on it. Former football player at Southern University, now the Coles Brown Show's football analyst. He'll have his top five, of course, and then Charles Edmond, of course, will go around the conference as well. So sit back, take a quick time out. You're watching the Coles Brown Show on the Black College Sports Network. I'll be right back.
Have you had your Earthblend coffee today? At Earthblend Coffee, we take pride in offering you the very best of beans across the world, blended and roasted to perfection, giving you superior quality and satisfying and flavorful taste. Experience the world in one cup with Earthblend Coffee.
This is Ryan Fulford. AD Drew and I are co-hosts of the BCSN Sports Wrap. We talk about all things related to HBCU athletics. From the games, teams, coaches, and fan interest stories, we cover it all. You can find our shows on Facebook at BCSN Sports Wrap, YouTube at MyJBN Online, and everywhere you listen to podcasts like Anchor, Spotify, Google, and Apple Podcasts. You can also find the show on the Jericho Broadcast Network's app. Make sure to download. We look forward to you joining the conversation and being a part of the show. Follow the Black College Sports Network on social media at MyBCSN1, the number 1, on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at MyBCSN1.
It's never too early to plant the seed, to share the tradition, and instill a sense of pride in your HBCU with your little ones. HBCU Pride and Joy Children's Boutique helps you share your school spirit with a wide selection of adorable kids apparel and accessories officially licensed from your favorite HBCU. Visit hbcupridejoy.com and follow us on all social media at HBCU Pride Joy on Facebook and Twitter.
We are back. For the first time in 62 years, the Florida Memorial Lions will hit the gridiron, and their home games will be streamed by the Black College Sports Network at www.fmuathletics.com, www.mybcsn.net, and on the MyBCSN app, available on Google Play and the Apple App Store.
This is the Dean of the College of HBCU Sports, Kenyatta Cavill of Dr. Cavill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Come mix it up in the lab where the course lecture is in session every Tuesday from 6 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time on Facebook Live, YouTube Spreaker, or the BCSN app, as we discuss all things about the HBCU sports culture, including exploring the week that was in the sporting HBCU diaspora, as well as the upcoming week of HBCU sports. With me, the Dean, the College of HBCU Sports, on Dr. Cavill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Course lecture dismissed.
Your ad could be ran here. MyJBN.com/support. MyJBN.com/support for more information.
Majesty is a premium health and wellness tea line focused on bringing delicious yet healthy tea blends to the community. Filled with an abundance of vitamins and antioxidants, we work to blend teas with exotic spices and fruits to produce scrumptious and wholesome beverages. So check us out at mymajesties.com. That's MyMajesties.com. My Majesties, an Urban Passport member.
Welcome back to this week's edition of the Coles Brown Show right here on the Black College Sports Network. Of course, you see I have on red. I've been seeing red, but guess what? B.J. Jones is a calming factor, played at Southern University, a football analyst. I'm sure he's going to do something to make me at least feel A little bit better. Good morning, BJ. How you doing? Oh, BJ's upset. He's gone. BJ, you there?
Yeah, I'm Carlos. I'm here, Carlos. Can you hear me?
Yeah. I can hear you and I can see you. I said you can do something to calm me down.
Oh man, we'll see. We'll see in a couple of hours. I mean, all depends on what Southern looks like today. Big game coming up against Arkansas Pine Bluff. We remember how the game went in the spring. Southern wins that ball game. They're in the SWAC championship game. And I like Southern chances once they get to that championship game against Alabama A&M. But coulda, woulda, shoulda, and we'll see today. UAPB, they're reeling, 1-4, 0-3 in the conference. A loss right here, and you thought last week was bad. This week would be worse. So we'll see.
Well, BJ, we're about to get into that because we have to do it. We have to call it the way we see it. You're a football analyst, former Southern University football player. You mentioned to me in a text message that this defense is very poor, and you got a chance to see him in person. Where do you start? This team defensively, I gave the numbers earlier. If you score 31 points and you have over 530 yards of total offense, wouldn't you think that team 9 times out of 10 won the football game?
Yes. Yeah.
However, BJ, you give up 576 yards of offense at Texas Southern. And by the way, for the third time, I'm going to congratulate Texas Southern and Mr. Body, and that up tempo, just Southern never made an adjustment. Now, defensively, what's been going on?
Well, defense is mostly alignment and assignment. A lot of the problems for Southern that I've seen have started before the snap. Alignment. If you looking last week, looking at really Mississippi Valley State and a few other games, the alignment seems off. You have defensive ends lined up inside the tackle or head up with the tackle, and they're getting pushed down. You see a lot of slanting, and guys have been slanting themselves straight out of the play. Mississippi Valley we're moving the ball with that screen to the slot receiver. Southern never walked anyone down to cover that slot receiver the entire ball game. So it's small things like that before the snap even gets started. The alignments, they're off. And then we say alignment and assignment. Well, it seems like oftentimes guys don't know what their assignment is. You've seen defensive ends bite down on a read option all year, biting down on a dive guy. Quarterback pulls and goes outside. There's no one there. So just small things like that. One of the things that have been frustrating, even in the past game, when you watch Southern play, football, look how many passes the receivers catch when there's no one near them. There's not a lot of contested balls. I think Southern has 2 interceptions or 3 interceptions the entire season. Not a lot of contested balls, not a lot of interceptions. It just seems like receivers are running what they say butt naked open in the zone.
Well, that is the analysis. And this is going to be a simple question, does the buck stop with the CEO and the defensive coordinator for what's going on?
I think you have to look at the defensive coordinator as the head. The buck stops with the head coach. So that's where the buck stops. Defensively, it seems like schematic wise, Southern, you can tell that Southern's doing some different things than we've seen in the past. I don't know if that's. I can't tell you for sure that has not been a detriment. One thing about it, when you have guys who are comfortable playing a particular system, sometimes you can outthink yourself and put them in something that they're not comfortable doing, what impacts production. Now guys have to think more than them just flying around and making plays. So that's something that's big. So schematically, this football team didn't look the same. We talked about the discipline on the defensive side of the football with those targeting penalties. There's a lot of things. Southern does not look like Southern. This does not resemble the team from the spring. This does not resemble the team from 2019 or 2018. So we'll see what happens. The thing about this thing is week to week. A lot of people have already gotten their pen and pads out and start doodling candidate names. Hey, no, we're just this second Saturday in October. Just hold up and let's just see what happens.
Well, yeah, and I've talked about it in our number one, and you always, BJ, at the end of the season, then you're going to make an assessment. And so I'm looking to the end of the season and see how it goes. Then you make an assessment. What worked, what didn't work. If you're going to make any changes, then that'll be the time. So Southern loses to Texas Southern this Saturday. Arkansas Pine Bluff, which is today, 2 p.m. ESPN Plus. BJ, what are you looking? I know it's a simple question, but what are you looking for as far as this ball game against Arkansas Pine Bluff? Can the defense improve in 1 week's time enough to help this team get a victory?
Well, you are certainly hope so. If you look at Arkansas Pine Bluff, they moved the ball pretty well against Alabama State at times on last week. But Alabama State was able to slam the door when it mattered. They were able to make life miserable for Skylar Perry in the quarterbacks on last week. Prairie View was able to do the same thing a few weeks ago. Can Southern replicate that success that they've had? And offensively, Arkansas Pine Bluff defensively is not world beaters by any stretch. Offensively, can you keep that going? We're told that we'll see more of Ladarius Skelton in different roles. It's interesting to see what that's going to look like. Can the offense continue to protect the ball? Bubba McDaniel only one interception a week ago, and that was on the Hail Mary. Can he continue to protect the football? But the biggest thing is going to be defensively. Can Southern play well enough defensively to give this offense a lead, and then really rely on the offensive line and that plethora of running backs that Southern has to grind one out up in Pine Bluff, Arkansas?
Yeah, and I'm kind of hearing, I don't know if you heard this, but you may, not a guarantee, may see Sims back, if not today, at least for homecoming. He's been out with an injury. And BJ, let me ask you about, and I don't know if I gave this stat, but Southern had 332 yards rushing. I gave that one. But you look at it, Devon Ben, and then Kobe Dillon, what he's been able to do. Then I just call him Mr. Auburn Transfer. He scored on the end around 65 yards. He had his best game. So once again, offensively, that's not the problem. That is not the problem at all. All they can do is continue to get better.
Could you imagine this Southern offense with that 2019 or 2018 thing?
Well, BJ, I kind of had, I see where you're going. Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely
You're talking
right.
about during those years, Southern right near the bottom of the conference in total offense, and you put this offense with, oh man, Southern has 2 rings in my opinion. You pair this offense with those defenses, and now something like the problems have kind of, they kind of switched sides, and we'll see. Southern's, as bad as everything looked last week, if Southern wins out, every goal that Southern had set for themselves is attainable. You end up in the SWAC championship game. You give yourself a shot, but it starts today.
Yeah.
It starts today, and you'll worry about next week.
What's the saying? Win the week. Now, BJ, I gave my top 5 in the conference, but you have a top 5 in HBCU football. What does it look like today?
So did that on Tuesday, top 5 Tuesday. If you follow me on Twitter at Inside HBCU Football. Number 1 was Jackson State. Number 2 Prairie View. 3 was North Carolina A&T. 4 3 was actually Florida A&M this week. 4 with North Carolina A&T. And then with the 5 spot, I have Alcorn State, just slightly above Norfolk State.
Interesting. Norfolk State building. Coach Odoms, he can build a program, no doubt about it. Jackson State. And speaking of Jackson State, were you surprised by – let me see how I can put this. You're not surprised that Jackson State won the football game, but were you surprised by the old-style raw whipping that they received, Alabama A&M against Jackson State?
Yes, I was. I mean, potentially we looking back on it, you kind of saw, I feel like Jackson State had a strength. Had the strengths. Alabama A&M, we talk about that, defensively they're bad. But this is something that we didn't think about. Not only defensively are they bad, but in the trenches in particular, on the offensive line and defensive line, they're bad. You saw Grambling put pressure on the Keel Glass. You saw Jackson State replicate that a week ago. And if that offense has a bad day, that defense is not going to stop anybody. So far this year, every game that Alabama A&M has played, the opponent has had a season high in yardage and points. Every game this year, no matter the opponent. When your defense is that bad, your offense cannot have an off day. And when you're not strong up front, it's easy for your offense to have an off day. Grambling showed that you go after A&M. Don't sit back and let them pick you apart. Go after them because they're not that strong up front. So I think that you'll see these things. I think you'll see FAMU do something similar today, and I think you'll see Alabama State do something similar in a couple of weeks to Alabama A&M as far as defensively.
BJ, FAMU kind of quietly coming along. After week 1, many said if they had changed the quarterbacks, made that change earlier, if they get better offensively, they're a dangerous ball club right now. And in the conference, of course, I got them ranked second behind JSU, but Coach Simmons, they're getting it done.
Yeah, Florida A&M, if you look at it defensively, they actually have the number 1 defense in the conference. They don't give up anything. And Land leads the nation in sacks. They are so loaded. The question for FAMU is offensively. Offensively, they have played a lot better, but that offense is not on the level of that defense. They do have some pieces on the offensive side of football, Xavier Smith, Bishop Bonnet, and so forth. But that defense, and it's nasty. And they're going to make an appearance in Huntsville, Alabama, in a few hours to greet Alabama A&M.
I tell you what, BJ, out of the two, I'd rather have an outstanding defense and an offense that's a work in progress, because defense wins you championship and they keep you in ball games. If you reverse it, you got a great offense, but defensively you can't stop anybody. That's a lot of pressure. And as you stated, your offense has an off day, it could get ugly. So out of the two, I'd rather give me the strong defense and the offense that's a work in progress.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Because if your defense is bad, you're forcing, like you said, you're forcing your offense to be on every game. And if your offense has a turnover, a fumble, you're almost out of it because your defense is so bad. And I think when your defense is strong, you keep yourself in every game that you play. Jackson State's offense before last week went exactly humming. But that defense is so good, it was going to keep them in every ball game.
They are ridiculously good. And just from my observation, BJ, they get pressure with the front four. And so they can play a lot more man-to-man coverage, bumping. Oh man, you know, that defense, I have to give credit where credit is due. As much as it pains me, BJ, Jackson State, and you know they can only get better offensively, but that was a raw butt whipping that they put on Alabama A&M. For any games this week in the conference, of course, which one you're looking at besides the one we talked about, those main games, FAMU and Alabama A&M. What about Prairie View?
Yeah, Prairie View, Bethune-Cookman. That game actually starts early. It's going to be interesting to see, does Prairie View keep it going? If they can keep it rolling. Alcorn going to Valley. That one could be a little interesting. And then you know what Texas Southern was able to do, getting their first conference win in 17 tries. They go to Grambling for homecoming. And another game in the conference, Alabama State and Jackson State. Defensively, Alabama State will provide a challenge to that offense. Alabama State's offense, a work in progress, but they looked a lot better against Arkansas Pine Bluff a week ago. I think that game potentially could be very interesting in Jackson.
Outside the conference, any game in the Mid-Eastern Athletic Conference, SIAC or CIAA?
Yeah, well, really, North Carolina A&T taking a trip to Atlanta to face off against Kennesaw State, two of the teams that are, suspected to compete for the Big South title. That's going to be an interesting ball game. North Carolina A&T, they can make a statement today with the win and help themselves as far as their playoff positioning is concerned. That's going to be a big game. And I think that also Morgan State and South Carolina State, MEAC opener for South Carolina State. What do the Bulldogs look like? Morgan State winless on the year. Does South Carolina State play down to the level of Morgan State, or do they, put their foot on the pedal and blow by an inferior opponent?
Does it come down at the end of the day to MEAC, South Carolina State, and Norfolk State?
I think that it may. I think that Norfolk, to me, is head and shoulders the class of the conference. But hey, it's week to week, and you never know what team's going to show up.
Yeah, week to week. Well, speaking of that, BJ, we'll talk with you next week. Appreciate the time and the insight. About 5 o'clock, we're both Southern alums. We'll find out if it doesn't go the way we think it should, or if Southern doesn't win this ball game, BJ, you're a lot safer than me. I'm gonna be ducking because I will not be able to defend anything anymore. Let the chaos begin, and then the house will truly be on fire.
Well, if things go bad, I know I can expect a call from you at about 5 o'clock to vent your frustrations. So if I don't get a call from Carlos today, that means that things have gone well. But if around 5 o'clock, if that phone is blowing up and I see Carlos Brown, I know that this is just going to be the start of a rough week. I had to go and get a product that I got in Jamaica just for the occasion. If I need it. And I'm like, ooh, because it's been an interesting in Baton Rouge, it's just been hot. Yes. Some people say it will be 2 openings at the end of the season. Then the Saints are still a work in progress. It's not a happy place in Baton Rouge as far as the sports wise. Right. So, that's the way it is, BJ. Maybe I'll be able to come your way if I have to get away. All right. Well, you're more than welcome, man. You're more than welcome. All right. Thanks. Have a great weekend, BJ, and appreciate the time. We'll talk with you next week, brother. All right. Have a good one. All right. That was Brandon BJ Jones of Inside HBCU Football. I'm going to take a quick time out. Once again, we're going to end the show about 10 minutes early to allow for the Black College Sports Network to have something going on the network, and we'll a team player. We'll do that for you. But I'm going to visit with Charles Edmond next. At least I'm scheduled to, here on the Carlos Brown Show on the Black College Sports Network. I will return.
Are you hungry for authentic Caribbean food like jerk chicken, oxtail, red snapper, shrimp, tofu, and rasta pasta? Well, find your way over to Mango's Caribbean Restaurant, 180 Auburn Avenue, right next to Royal Peacock in downtown Atlanta.
Them belly full, but we hungry.
Mango's Caribbean Restaurant, open daily from 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. And on Friday and Saturday, we're open till 4 a.m. Come to Mango's and put some spice in your life.
Oh, we've got a good thing going.
Mango's Caribbean Restaurant, 180 Auburn Avenue, right next to Royal Peacock in downtown Atlanta. For more info or directions, call 404-698-3992 or log on to mangoscaribbeanrestaurant.com. For instant coupons, text MANGOS to 313131.
Tell your mama hungry, papa hungry, brother hungry.
Mango's Caribbean Restaurant, authentic Caribbean cuisines.
Open up the door, tell your mama hungry.
Follow the Black College Sports Network on social media at MyBCSN1, the number 1, on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at MyBCSN1. Support the Black College Sports Network so we can continue to provide you coverage. Go to myjbn.com/support and be a part of the Black College Sports Network.
The Cuvée Group is a Florida-based marketing and training consulting firm. We help businesses communicate to their target audience and engage them in conversation. We also help to expand their audiences, which will ultimately result in growth for those organizations. In addition to being a certified constant contact specialist, my colleagues and I are also certified in John Maxwell Leadership Principles. We use these proven principles to conduct workshops, training, and private coaching sessions for individuals and companies looking to take things to the next level. Contact us to schedule a free consultation. Issues today, don't delay, call Cuvée.
Have you had your Earthblend coffee today? At Earthblend Coffee, we take pride in offering you the very best of beans across the world, blended and roasted to perfection, giving you superior quality and satisfying and flavorful taste. Experience the world in one cup with Earthblend Coffee.
This is Brian Fulford. AD Drew and I are co-hosts of the BCSN Sports Wrap. We talk about all things related to HBCU athletics. From the games, teams, coaches, and fan interest stories, we cover it all. You can find our shows on Facebook at BCSN Sports Wrap, YouTube at MyJBN Online, and everywhere you listen to podcasts like Anchor, Spotify, Google, and Apple Podcasts. You can also find the show on the Jericho Broadcast Network's app. Make sure to download. We look forward to you joining the conversation and being a part of the show. Follow the Black College Sports Network on social media at MyBCSN1, the number 1, on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at MyBCSN1.
It's never too early to plant the seed, to share the tradition, and instill a sense of pride in your HBCU with your little ones. HBCU Pride and Joy Children's Boutique helps you share your school spirit with a wide selection of adorable kids apparel and accessories officially licensed from your favorite HBCU. Visit hbcupridejoy.com and follow us on all social media at HBCU Pride Joy on Facebook and Twitter.
We are back. For the first time in 62 years, the Florida Memorial Lions will hit the gridiron, and their home games will be streamed by the Black College Sports Network at www.fmuathletics.com, www.mybcsn.net, and on the MyBCSN app, available on Google Play and the Apple App Store.
Welcome back to this final segment of today's show, the Carlos Brown Show, right here on the Black College Sports Network. We found him, one of the hardest working guys in the business, Charles Edmond. Charles, where are you? I'll let you introduce where you're from. I mean, where you at? Where you at today?
I am at Rice Totten Stadium here in Itta, Mississippi, home of the suddenly resurgent Mississippi Valley State football program.
Charles, I went there when I was maybe 14 years old, and I was in the car with my grandparents. A 5-hour trip seemed like 12 because they didn't drive that fast. And coming back after the game, oh my goodness, Charles, I said never again, but never say never. I'll be back one day, but I'm glad to have you on today's show with our Swag Sports Report. Let's get started. I know you had a ball game and you were shocked at the score with Southern and Texas Southern, but I'm sure you'll be able to try to calm me down, Charles. But give your thoughts on last week, and then we'll get into this week's ball game.
I tell you what, I mean, it's hard to make heads or tails for what's going on. I mean, you look at the defending SWAC champs, Alabama A&M, and clearly they've been exposed on both sides of the football. I've said this for weeks. It's just a matter of time before it's going to catch up with them. I figured on the defensive side of the ball, coming out of the Grambling game, you're not going to make enough adjustments to completely fix what's wrong with the defense. Now, did I expect Jackson State to put over half 100 on them? No, I did not. And you got to give Jackson State a lot of credit after the bye week for them doing what they were able to do and just completely just dismantling Alabama A&M. Clearly, A&M's got a lot of work to do. Too many turnovers. Glasses on his back too many times these last couple of games. I think 11 sacks in these last couple of games, the turnovers and mistakes. The Braves got what they wanted from Grambling, a stern test. 2 turnovers in the fourth quarter by Grambling kind of helped us out. Our offense gets stalled in the second half. Grambling played it tough. And as for Southern, I mean, you run the ball over 300 yards and you can't get 1 yard. I looked at the play-by-play this morning. It was a 4th and 1 from your own 44. You had a chance to salt the game away. I probably would have punted the ball if I were Coach Rollins, but that didn't happen. He put it on his defense, and Texas Southern scored, and that was it. I mean, so it's some weird scores, some teams that are kind of coming up from the ashes, and clearly, on the East, Jackson State clearly is the team along with Florida A&M, and on the western side, Southern hanging on, the Braves and Prairie View. So this is kind of what we expected. We knew it was going to be some dog fights, and every week you just don't know what to expect. We've seen an upset the last couple of weeks, and I expect more to come.
Well, you may notice that I didn't talk about the controversial call in the Southern Texas Southern game. It was on the 4th down. It looked like Southern, they got the first down. And then Texas Southern asked to look at it again. And then they overturned that. And I probably didn't even get that right. But guess what? On the road, that wasn't the reason that Southern lost that football game. It's defensively. They have not gotten it done. And if they don't figure it out ASAP, it could get very, very warm. It was 91 degrees in Baton Rouge in October. But I think it'll go up at least 10 more degrees if the outcome is not good for a Southern University. But congratulations, Charles, Texas Southern. Mr. Body, a freshman, tremendous. He has a tremendous upside. Threw for over 300 yards, rushed for almost 100 yards. He's the real deal, and he's only a freshman, and you saw a glimpse of that against Rice.
Absolutely, and so when you look at Texas Southern, what they're doing right now, you just can't look at the Southern game. You kind of have to go back to that exhibition game they had a couple weeks ago in which they scored 1 million points. That kind of got their confidence up a little bit. And then, of course, the Southern game clearly was one that they needed. And then the Rice game. I mean, if you look at Rice, the Rice game in the second half, I thought they got their confidence going there, even though they lost the game. So just little snippets of good things. You saw that from Grambling. You saw that from Texas Southern, and you're seeing it from Valley. Little snippets of good things weeks ago, leading to some positive momentum that what we're seeing right now from those teams.
Momentum is an interesting situation You can get it and confidence, and then you cannot have confidence, and then momentum goes the opposite way. But Saturday, October the 9th, Charles kind of mentioned a little bit, Alcorn State over Grambling State 24-20. And I got a chance to catch the last quarter of that ball game on ESPN Plus. Grambling State throws an interception. They're marching down the field, and it could have been a different story. You know, Alcorn fans would have been, hey, they could have been like Southern fans, just, pissed off and hot if it goes another way. But Alcorn seems to be able to handle adversity, and they pull out a victory.
Yeah, they did. They started fast. We got a touchdown via a punt block that set us up for good field position. So we started fast, but what Fred McNair's been saying and all the coaches have been saying and the players have been saying is we need to play a 4-quarter game from start to finish. I was at practice the other day, and Elliott Radney, offensive coordinator, was like, look, guys, we got to start fast and we got to finish fast. And if we leave the door open for teams, they're going to walk through it, like Valley today, if we're not careful, if we play around with this. So that's what the coaches and players and everyone with this program is looking at right now, playing 4 quarters of football. It's an old, worn-out cliche. You hear it all the time in football, but clearly in Alcorn's case, that's clearly what's happening. We haven't had a 4-quarter game yet, to be honest. I mean, you look at UAPB, we struggled in the first half. We kind of stumbled a little bit against Northwestern State. Our defense held tough. Look, we had 16 days off in between that UAPB game and that Grambling game, that South Alabama game and that Grambling game. So we had 16 days off. So we need to get going here. And there are no more bye weeks. We got 4 in a row on the road. And if we're going to get to where we need to go, we've got to play a lot better. We got to start fast and play 4 quarters.
Very interesting. 4 in a row on the road. Southern University after the day's game, no more road games. Who's under the most pressure? Interesting. I would say playing at home. You would think not, but it is what it is. Alabama State over Arkansas Pine Bluff 35-15. Of course, Jackson State all over Alabama and them 61-15. At least Coach Maynard he said basically it was his job. It was his fault. He didn't have his team ready. So he had a big dose of humble pie. A big dose, Charles. Valley over Bethune-Cookman 20-14. Boy, Bethune-Cookman not in the win column yet. Texas Southern, of course, over Southern 35-31. FAMU over South Carolina State 30-7. FAMU, best defense in the conference. They are a tough out now. FAMU, Charles.
Yeah, they are. And I mean, we can make the debate, which is the better defense, FAMU or Jackson State? I mean, Jackson State's defense has been stout. I'm sure the Tiger fans will probably have a conversation with you about that, but I think FAMU and Jackson State, I'm gonna give an edge a little bit to Jackson State. That defense is pretty tall. FAMU still, I do think and Brian Fulford's probably not agreeing with me right now, but I still think FAMU's defense got another test or 2 to go. If they pass that, then I might change my mind. But right now, what I saw a little bit of the Jackson State A&M game, that defense is the real deal. And of course, you got a defensive-minded head coach on that side. So I'm gonna give a little bit of an edge to Jackson State. I didn't expect FAMU's defense to be stout. When you talk about Willie Simmons and his team, you talk about offense, but their defense is definitely coming around.
Well, B.J. Jones says statistically, FAMU is number 1, but Jackson State right there. And the way that Jackson State defense, yeah, I'll go with that. Statistically, FAMU is the best, but from the eye test, I give an edge to Jackson State. You're right about that. Charles, in the Eastern Division, Jackson State 2-0, Alabama State 2-1, FAMU 1-1, Valley 1-1. That's interesting to say that. Alabama A&M 1-2 on a 2-game losing streak. And then, of course, Bethune-Cookman 0-3 on a 6-game losing streak. They have not won a game. Prairie View A&M 3-0 on a 3-game winning streak in the Western Division. Alcorn 2-0. Texas Southern 1-1. Southern 1-1. Grambling State 1-2. Arkansas Pine Bluff 0-3. Now, with that being said, Charles, Bethune-Cookman hosting Prairie View. That game is already started, but who would you have penciled in that game?
I've got Prairie View to win this game right now, but I'm gonna tell you something, and just put this in your clip and save file. Bethune-Cookman is gonna ruin somebody's day before this thing's all said and done. They got a couple of losses. They're probably not, mathematically, you can create a way where they can win the East, but realistically, no. But they're gonna spoil somebody's season and spoil somebody's day before it's all said and done. We go there the first week of November, and I'm not looking forward to it. I mean, because I think they're struggling right now, but they're not going to continue to struggle. I think they're going to figure out how to win some games down the stretch and ruin it for some people. So look out for Bethune-Cookman. But today, Prairie View, I have them winning this game. They were off last week. They're the only team in the league that didn't play last Saturday. If Coach Dooley's offense continues to do what they're doing, which is purring right along, scoring a ton of points, they got some defense to boot. If they continue that formula, they're going to be right there at the end.
I think Coach Dooley, can we say maybe officially off the hot seat, or do we need to wait a week or two?
Yeah, we need to wait a little bit. I mean, I think what they're doing is what they're supposed to do, but can they finish the deal? Can they overcome adversity? They're going to have some injuries. There's going to be some issues. Can he get through that? The wins look good right now, and that's what it's all about, but he's got to continue that process, and we'll see if he can do that today.
You at Alabama A&M. Somehow I know who you're going to pick to win this one.
Yep, got FAMU. I think that defense, what we talked about, top 2 defense in the conference, number 1 in according to the numbers. I think we have figured out a way how to slow down that A&M offense, and that's been the thing with them. They could score 1 million points, but if you slow them down, you got a chance. And I think Jackson State did that. I think Grambling did that. Clearly, Glass has been on his back the last couple of weeks. Too many turnovers, too many mistakes offensively, and their defense can't make up for it. So I have Florida A&M winning that game, and that'll probably officially eliminate A&M, I think, from Eastern Division contention with 3 losses.
Blueprint is out there, how to defeat Alabama A&M. And if Alabama A&M and University of Arkansas Pine Bluff lose today, you can officially put a stake in them. They're done. Yeah. And they played in the SWAC championship game, spring session. Texas Southern at Grambling State. And by the way, the FAMU and Alabama A&M game, 1 p.m. ESPN Plus. Texas Southern at Grambling State, Tiger All Access, 2 p.m. Grambling State homecoming. Charles, you would be there if you wasn't employed by Alcorn. But, that's going to be an interesting game. Can Texas Southern put back-to-back wins and defeat the Louisiana schools?
I think so. I'm a Grambling Knight, so yeah, I'm a Grambling Knight. So I'm always going to be for the G-men. But let's be honest and realistic. This offense is still a work in progress. What we saw last week with Grambling in the Alcorn game, they played 2 quarterbacks. Bowden clearly didn't have it last week. He was 10 of 27. He overthrew a bunch of guys. He just didn't have it. Braves defense got pressure on him. They brought a guy in, Clark, who was kind of the dual threat quarterback and gave us some problems in the second half. So I think that offense is still a work in progress there with Marty, the new OC. And, Fobbs is still, a lot of people think that Fobbs is under the gun. I was texting somebody after the game last week, and they said, is he back on the hot seat after losing to Alcorn? And the response I got was, no more hotter or colder after the Alcorn game last week. But this is one that Grambling needs to get. It's homecoming. Although I do think Texas Southern's got a little bit more momentum and a little bit more offense. I think Texas Southern wins this game. I think it's going to be, 28-24, somewhere in there. But I do think TSU has found something with this freshman quarterback. I think their defense is playing well enough. Grambling's offense is still a work in progress. I'm going with Texas Southern. Hate to say it, but, if we're going to be honest, let's be honest.
I understand. Southern and Arkansas Pine Bluff, 2 p.m., ESPN Plus.
This is a tough one. This was probably one of the more tougher picks. I want to say UAPB at home, but I think Southern will rebound. Southern came back after being down in the second half against Texas Southern. Southern ran the football well last week. That 4th and 1, they didn't get that. I'm gonna go with Southern University. I think Southern will bounce back. I think UAPB is down in the dumps. That loss to Alcorn. I mean, they scored what 38 points against Alcorn. They haven't scored that many points since total. I think they've scored 32 points the last 2 games, but they scored 38 against Alcorn. So I think that offense is definitely struggling. They've got another quarterback that they're running in there, so clearly they've got some question marks there. Southern clearly can score. I'm going to go with Southern University winning the game 31-16, somewhere in there.
I would take that. Right now, I would take anything. Never thought at this point I would be saying that. Desperate, yeah. Backs are to the wall, do or die. A loss, and all hell will break loose in Baton Rouge, Charles.
Yeah.
It's as simple as I can put it. And all hell could break loose eventually because they have some tough games, and we'll see. Let's move quickly. Got about 3 minutes left on this week's edition of the Coles Brown Show. Alabama State and Jackson State, 2 p.m., ESPN Plus.
Jackson State. They're playing well right now. The bigger storyline, I think, albeit it's homecoming and they beat A&M, the comments that Dr. Ely had last week about the shoe, bring my shoe back, after what Alabama State did last year. That's kind of the conversation. It's going to be 45,000 there. I got Jackson State. I think the defense is too good. And Alabama State's offense, although they got on track a little bit last week, I just don't think it's enough. Jackson State.
Will they have a shoe on the sideline with JSU on there? Like I saw that scooter with JSU on that. Boy, I tell you, JSU fans, just like Southern fans, they don't forget.
The SWAC is a mess. I can tell you, we are a messy conference. And if somebody brings a shoe out there after the game, I am no more good.
Hey, can't say anything. And then last but not least, Mississippi Valley State University Athletics, YouTube, Alcorn State of Mississippi Valley, 3 p.m.
We got to play 4 quarters of football. Valley's defense is the real deal. If you go back to the Southern game was where they kind of found their mojo defensively. You look at Bethune, you look at Central, they kind of contained those 2 teams in the second half. We've got to be able to start fast and execute offensively and put points on the board. We let Valley hang around like they did against Central here on this field 2 weeks ago. Could be tough. I think the Braves will bounce back, but it's not going to be easy. One of the bigger crowds we've seen here on a beautiful day here at Rice-Titan.
Yeah. The win streak is over. 2 games, but hey, Valley has shown marked improvement. I got Alcorn winning this ball game, and as of late, my picks been okay, but sometimes the prediction you have, it gets away from you. Southern Arkansas Pine Bluff. I think Southern will take care of business. They will find enough defense. If not, leave the defense at Pine Bluff. Just leave them there because, again, as I stated, it'll be a rough time. I think you officially could, if Southern loses, Charles, officially, they're done. They're done. I don't think they'll be able to have a chance to win the Western Division. Then you'll be playing for pride and maybe something else. But an interesting schedule, FAMU and Alabama A&M. I like FAMU also in that one. Prairie-View, Jackson State, and Alcorn. That's who I like. Well, Charles, it's going to be an interesting Saturday of football, and then going forward, man, it's every week there is going to be an exciting ball game. Win the week, 1 week at a time. That's all you can do. Closing comments for you.
A couple of closing comments. You talk about Valley. Valley can really dictate the East these next 3 weeks. They've got Alcorn here. Next week, FAMU comes here. Following week, Jackson State comes here. This is the best run Valley could have in the last 15 years. If they get it done, then all of a sudden Valley is a major player. And something off the beaten path, our buddy Rob J of the Jackson State Radio Network, he was inducted into the SWAC Hall of Fame the other day. Congratulations to Rob J. Well deserved. He's been doing this thing a long time. Congratulations.
Yes. And get a chance to listen to him on the broadcast, and Coach Asbury, very, very entertaining. Yes. That's the best way to put it. I've had an opportunity to have him on the show, and he's a busy man. Guess I have to contact his agent to get him back on. Hey, but he's got to come to Baton Rouge, that's for sure. And I'll get him one way or the other. Well, Charles, enjoy the rest of your weekend. Have a great broadcast. I'll tune in like I always do. I'm all over the place trying to get the information on who's winning and who's not. And you can say on your broadcast, if it's not going right, you can text me. I'll answer. But don't put it on. Yeah, this time. Don't put it on speaker. Don't put it on speaker, because it could be if it's not going the way I want it. I could be in a rare mood.
Yeah. Absolutely. I got you.
On that note, that'll do it for this week's edition of the Carlos Brown Show. Make sure you tune in next Saturday at 11 a.m. Central Standard Time, 12 noon Eastern Standard Time, for the Carlos Brown Show right here on the Black College Sports Network. Until next Saturday, as always, peace and God bless.